Okay, welcome. So today we are going to discuss I have a listing, now what? So for those of you that were with me on Tuesday for I have a buyer, now what? It's going to be a very similar pathway. It's going to talk about kind of the same steps, but a different perspective because it's from the listing side instead of the buyer side. So again, first step always, if you're going to have a new listing, you need to add the contact or contacts multiple into command. Remember, 1 to buy, 2 to sell. So if it is somebody that is married, they both need to sign your documentation. So make sure that you add both contacts separately into command. If you are using Dotloop, you need to make sure that each person has their own email address. If you are using DocuSign, people can share an email address, but in command, you can only have it on one of the contacts. You just have to add the secondary email address in DocuSign, or the duplicate email address in DocuSign. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that. So if the contact's not already added, go ahead and add them. Of course, the more information, the better. Always, always, to build that relationship out. So next up is creating the opportunity. Just like we talked about on Tuesday, if there's anything that we discuss here that you guys want to see done, I'm happy to show you. Just let me know. But in the interest of time, I'm not going to show you every little piece unless you actually request it. But I'm happy to do it if it's something you want to see. So we'll create an opportunity and choose cultivate or active status and phase, and then you can choose your stage within that to fit wherever you are. So again, this is just my personal way that I set up my opportunities. If they're going to be selling in 3 months plus, I create them in the cultivate phase. I do go ahead and create that opportunity because I have some checklists set up in my cultivate phase that I want to implement, even if somebody's not ready to sell right now today. So there are some people that just add their contacts opportunity when they are ready to go, and that is okay too. It is personal preference, right? So one thing that I always do with a seller is set them up on a bi-weekly neighborhood nurture smart plan for their current neighborhood so they can see activity surrounding them. That's just a great touch that you can give them. And if you were helping them buy their new home, then go ahead and add the neighborhoods that they are interested in moving to that bi-weekly neighborhood nurture as well. Share your KW app with them and make sure again that they have an account. If you do not want your client to have to set the account up themselves, for those of you who weren't here, I will go ahead and give you a reminder. You can go into your own website. Let me get this open and get this here. And so you can click sign up right there, and you can enter your client's name. And another tip is to use the phone number of your client as the password, right? So you can just say, hey, Mr. and Mrs. Seller, here is your login for my agent website in the mobile app. It is your email address and the password is your cell phone number. Feel free to change that when you get in if you want a different password. Got Edward coming into the chat. Right, so does anybody have any questions on that? So that saves your client from having to set up, and you can be confident that they are connected. Good? You guys are so quiet. Let me pull this person in. Hey, Edward. All right, so we have shared our KW app with them now, and you can also set up saved searches for them in command if you are helping them to move into their next home. Next up is to prepare a listing presentation. So the good thing about this is that probably pretty often your listing presentation is not going to change. You may have a different version for, a standard home and then a certain version for a luxury home, which I know in the Winston-Salem market is $475,000 and above. So you may use something different for that, but otherwise you can pretty much just set up your listing presentation. And then when you get a different client, you can just change out that cover page with a front exterior of their home and their name. So that will save you time. So the listing presentation does take time to edit and set up the way that you want it. And just remember that you get to use it over and over again, right? Systems and models, that's what we're built on here at KW. So it's better to take the time on the front end and go ahead and get this set up for yourself and then be able to reuse it over and over. So does anybody have a question on preparing a listing presentation in Command? Good. Okay, keep going. So your pre-listing appointment, where you're going to bring that listing presentation. Before you go on your listing appointment, make sure that you start a file, whether that's paper or digital, no shade. If you like a paper file, use a paper file by all means. I use them for years. So whichever way that you're going to keep them, make sure that you go ahead and have that set up. You're going to want to pull the tax card, any copies of previous listings of that property, even if they're older, so you can kind of compare and contrast your home measurements and things like that. Definitely do a quick CMA, so you have a general idea of what the price is. I'm not going to name any names. And down the street, there's a house for sale that has been for sale several times over the last 4 years, and it is ridiculously overpriced, like ridiculously overpriced. And it's the third agent that's listed it that I personally know, and I'm never a fan of buying a listing. Do yourself a favor. I know it's great to have listings, and when you really, really overprice those listings like that, they're just going to expire. So you're not doing yourself any favors. You're not doing your client any favors. Plus, you're going to have expired listings under your belt, and nobody wants to see that, especially not in this market. So definitely kind of do your homework ahead of time and get a good idea of what the house could go for. So that if the seller says, hey, I want to put it on the market for $550,000, and you know very well that it's not going to sell for more than $400,000, then you might be able to have that conversation at that point. Again, get all of that paperwork ready to go. Don't give them any reason to hesitate. If for any of those of you that are taking bold, you'll learn close the appointment, get the deal signed, get the paperwork signed. So in order to be able to do that, have the paperwork ready, whatever that means to you. Type it up in DocuSign minus the, listing price and some other parameters like that, or have it on paper. And then the things that you need to discuss with the seller on site can be decided at that point. But that way you don't have to say, well, let me go back to my office and get this paperwork ready. By that time, that seller may have changed their minds, right? And so thinking back to when we were discussing the generational trends report, just remember it was something like 70% of sellers interviewed one agent, right? So speed to lead, be there first, be prepared, have all your stuff together before you get to that listing appointment. Okay, any questions on that? Preliminary lien searches are also good to do, because they may not know that they have a lien against their property, or they may be hiding it from you. So that's definitely something that you want to check on as well. So once we get into our listing appointment, in our introductions, if we don't know them personally, if we've just met them through some kind of lead generation activities or something like that, during those introductions, try to read your audience, right? Especially when you begin presenting your listing presentations. We've had this discussion. I'm a very high D. I'm very straight to the point, right? And I have people in my family that are the complete opposite of me, that want to talk, want to engage, want to ask questions, want to be shown every single thing. And you may even end up with two people who you have one of each. So you have to find a way to kind of walk that line. If you have a person like me, you don't want to be sitting there and droning through that listing presentation, because I will tune out and be over the situation very quickly. Whereas somebody else may be very much wanting to chat with you and ask you questions. The high C's of the world are going to want a lot of detail. So you have to be prepared for that if you don't already know the people that you're talking with very well. So again, securing the client. Make sure you have that paperwork prepared to sign in ink or sign electronically, whichever one works for you. The paperwork you need to have ready to get signed is the Working with Real Estate Agents brochure, and make sure that you have, or the Working with Real Estate Agents signature page, plus the brochure to give to them to review. The exclusive right to sell listing agreement, whether that's for the house or a right to sell listing agreement for vacant land, and that residential property disclosure, mineral oil and gas rights, and lead-based paint if built prior to 1978. So one time saver, you can choose to leave those disclosures behind. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, let's discuss what these disclosures are about. And I will give you time to go through and answer these questions, and I can come back by and pick these up. So if you choose to do that, just make sure that you go back and pick them up. Any questions on that piece? Everybody feeling good? Awesome.
Monica, I have a question on the preliminary guide. I mean, lien guide. Where do you find that to do a preliminary lien search?
Go into the county records.
Oh, just
Yeah, those are things that you'll just have to kind of get used to doing. But for Forsyth County, like the Register of Deeds and tax records and all that kind of stuff, you can get in there, and I think they've moved stuff around since I've last pulled these up. But you can usually just search like Forsyth County lien search. Right, so online record search. I know you're probably in Guilford County, but Forsyth is where I am.
okay.
So you can just go in and start looking through on deeds and looking through that different kind of stuff, because there have been times where I've gone to pull up a deed thinking that there was going to be a general warranty deed on this property, and there was a quick claim deed because, you know, they separated, or all different kinds of things can happen. So it's good to go ahead and do that stuff ahead of time instead of finding out after the fact. Another thing that you want to make sure that you pay attention to is if it's a property that was inherited, is that they probated, because I've run into that as well. And that probate takes up to 90 days. So they may be like, I'm ready to sell now, but that's not done. So then you can't sell now. So those are all things to kind of keep in mind. And I probably need to add that in here. I will get that added in. And again, this spreadsheet or this list is on my website, and I will drop the link to the chat in the chat here at the
Okay,
end.
thanks.
You're welcome. And you guys will see any updates that I make too. So, all right. So if you leave those disclosures behind, just make sure that you go back to pick those up. So if you get them to agree to list with you, great job. Go ahead and take a front exterior photo from your cell phone as you leave. I do not recommend using cell phone photos for your listing, and it's good to go ahead and have that picture for your reference. But go ahead and collect those seller signed disclosures if you left them behind. Send the seller a copy of all the documents, right? So even if they sign it in DocuSign, they are going to get a copy. Once everything is complete, it's going to say this document was complete, and you should still offer, right? That makes people feel good if you're like, okay, we have all of our paperwork done. Would you like for me to print you copies or send those over to your email? What would work the best for you? Just a nice touch that you can add to them. Mail them a thank you card, right? As soon as they decide to list with you and you get the ball rolling, nice little touches like that make their experience, that Disneyland experience, and prompts them to want to use you in the future and suggest you to others, which is one of our main goals, right? So just make sure you take that extra step to do those little touches. Order your yard sign if needed, right? If you don't already have some. Your independent contractors, you're welcome to create your own signs. Provisional brokers, you need to have the office phone number on your sign until you are no longer provisional. Please don't forget that. All your marketing needs to have your cell phone number and the Market Center's phone number while you're provisional. That's North Carolina Real Estate Commission law. So some market centers have signs on site for you. Ask your director of agent services, Becca in Greensboro or Noah in Winston-Salem, for the availability of signs like that. But if not, there are multiple places you can go get signs. Locally, Fast Signs is usually pretty good. Online, cheapest, but it does take a little bit of time to get them. Build a Sign does a really great job. And you can get some higher end signs as well. But, lead with revenue. So don't go spending ridiculous amounts of money on signs if you aren't prepared to do that yet. So I always am a lead with revenue kind of person. Lock boxes, right? So you need to have some form of a lock box for people to get into the property. So super boxes, I did confirm this, different boards handle this different ways. If you're in Winston-Salem and you want super boxes, you're going to contact or go to the Winston-Salem Regional Association of Realtors office, right? If you're in Greensboro, it's my understanding that your broker in charges have access to the lock boxes. My license is in Winston-Salem, so I've never had to do it through my BIC, but that is what I was told. So just wanted to make sure that I let you guys know that. Get your photographer scheduled. So I cannot stress the importance of, or if you're a good photographer, that's okay. Just don't use cell phone pictures, y'all. If you have a camera, it doesn't have to be a super fancy camera, just a camera with a decent lens where you can get some wider angle shots so that they look better. I mean, you can really tell a big difference. And I know right now stuff's just flying off the market, and it's a good habit to go ahead and get into that habit ahead of time of using a photographer or taking really quality pictures if you're a photographer yourself, or just, have a nice camera. It really makes a difference. Look through the MLS and look at the different pictures, right? Our goal, think about this when you're having these conversations with your sellers. I know these conversations are hard, and I probably should have put this up here too. I'll have to add that to my notes as well. When they have clutter, when they have stuff all over their refrigerator, when they have lots of personalization in their home, it's a hard conversation to have with them, to ask them to, straighten those things up. But one story that I always like to tell them is, if you were going to sell your car, before you took it to the dealership, would you wash it? Would you have it waxed? Would you vacuum it out? Would you put an air freshener in it? Of course you would, because that's going to help you get the most money for your car. You're not going to send it in there all dirty and junky looking with fingerprints and dirt and mud and snow or salt or ice or whatever all over it. You're not going to do that. It's the same thing with your house. Present it in its absolute best light coming out of the gate, including pictures, including pricing, including cleanliness, curb appeal, all of those things, right? So make sure that you're having those conversations with your sellers. Let me see. Let me get back to where I was. Sorry, that just took me off track there, but I want to make sure that I tell you guys that, because I was scared to death to tell sellers that kind of stuff when I got started. And I got over it, right? It's part of our job that we have to do. So another great thing that you can do for your seller, if you are a little bit nervous about having that conversation, is go ahead and make up an email that says, here are some tips to get you ready for the photographer to come to your house. Declutter, depersonalize, make sure that you take stuff off of the refrigerator, make sure to move your car out of the driveway, make sure the beds are made, right? You can just have like a tips to seller email for pre-photography day. And that is another gentle way to give them those reminders. Order home warranty if you're going to offer one. I know we haven't had the need for that recently with the market the way it's been, and I've been in markets that are not like this market, and that is something I just want you guys to remember. If the market shifts, offering a home warranty with the sale of the home is always a great marketing tool. Plus, it covers the seller during the listing period at no cost to them. So that can be a good selling point. email that warranty information over to the seller. Make sure you collect a key and any alarm instructions. If there's an alarm, please make sure that you get those alarm instructions. There's nothing worse than going to show a property for anybody that it's happened to. When you get there and you open the door and you're talking to your buyers and all of a sudden the alarm goes off, that's the worst feeling. So make sure that you collect all of that stuff. Make sure that the lockbox is functioning properly, right? And make sure that you put all of that stuff into your showing instructions. So then we're going to place that lockbox on the property and start entering our listing into the MLS, right? Does anybody have any questions so far? We good? Okay. Activate and market your listing. So we're going to put the sign at the house. Don't forget, you could also get signs from some of our lenders that are local. Those do help sometimes, especially if it's like USDA eligible for 100% financing, or, you know, if there's just a really good deal that somebody's giving. Fairway gives out signs, Atlantic Bay gives out signs. They also do marketing materials that give a breakdown. If you go conventional and put this much money down, this would be your monthly payment at this price point. And so those are nice to put together with your marketing materials. So I know the market's moving so fast right now, but one of the things that one of my favorite things to do for my listing was to put together my marketing book. So you want to make sure that you're giving good information and that there is a takeaway, right? So what I usually did was had a full color flyer that showed the price and some interior photos and stuff. And then on the back, I just, to save trees, printed the MLS sheet on the back. So I had the pretty thing on the front, I had the MLS sheet on the back, and then I had, you know, a stack of however many of those I thought I needed in that property inside of the marketing book. But I've made a pretty fancy marketing book. Do you have to do that? No. I just enjoy marketing. But I had, you know, maps of what was close by, good images, tax records. I usually worked with the sellers to find out, like, what's your average power bill? What's your average water bill? If this house has natural gas, what's the average gas bill? And I had a sheet that I filled out with all that pertinent information. Who are the providers of cable that are available, internet that's available, you know, who's the power company, et cetera, et cetera. So I had all of that stuff in a binder, and then I had my takeaways in that front pocket so they could pull one out and take it with them. So that's definitely something good to have. I also added the vendor materials in there, and I always worked with Fairway, so I'm not pushing them. It's just that was who I always worked with. And Bill always gave me a really nice breakdown, and people enjoyed having that in the house on the counter. And then you're going to activate that MLS listing, right? So if you're not familiar with the MLS, if you've never entered a listing before, go in there and practice. It's not going to break anything. Just don't hit activate, right? But go in there and take a look at what it looks like to enter a listing. So when you're in the MLS, you just go in, I'll log myself in here, and you go up to that add edit button. And like I said, you can go in and start adding a listing. You don't have to publish it, but if you've never tried to put one in before, go in there and try it out so that when the time comes, you're already going to be under some pressure, right? If it's your first listing. So don't let this add to it. Be prepared for that. Same thing I tell you guys about your e-signature platforms of choice. Even if you don't have a client today, go ahead and take the time to go in there and try to do it so that when you need it, you're not flustered, right? So check that out if you haven't already. Make sure you upload your disclosures into the MLS, y'all. It makes it so much easier for buyers agents to make an offer if they can just download the disclosures from the MLS and get their clients to sign them on the spot and turn them in with the offer to purchase. It just makes everything easier. So don't forget to add those disclosures into the MLS. At that point, you will need to download your agent full version showing your listing is active. It will be part of your active listing checklist that you need to turn into Command. So go ahead and establish that for yourself as soon as you list a property. And I did used to email it to my clients as well. So I'll show you guys how to do that really quick. I'm just going to run into my office active listings. Maybe. MLS has just been so slow the last couple of days. They have apparently had a glitch or something. But I'm not going to wait for it. But you get into the listing, down at the bottom, there's a print button. You hit print, pick agent full, and then click print to PDF, right? So save yourself the steps. I know some people that were, oh, here we go. Some people were actually printing them out and then scanning them in. You don't have to do that. You can just go in and open it and actually print it to a PDF to have a digital copy. So definitely get used to doing that. And then again, if it goes into due diligence, you need to get a copy at that point. And then when you close it, you need to get a copy at that point, because that will be a required document within your opportunity checklist. Okay. If you're using a super key, you can actually assign that lockbox to the property within the MLS system, so that every time that somebody opens the door, that you get notified and that you have a record of it. People are inherently bad at leaving doors unlocked. I mean, it just happens. I've shown up to show a house and the front door was wide open, and I'm like, listing agent, do you know that your front door of your house is unlocked? And if you're using that super tracker, then you know who the last person was, so that you can call and clear that up with them. Just a suggestion. Of course, you can't do that with combo boxes, but that's okay. So add clear showing instructions and showing time. Don't make it confusing. If the front door lock sticks, preferably get the lock changed. But if they need to like open a side door or something, make sure that you make that very clear in the showing instructions. You know, lockbox, on front banister, open side door on the right, alarm system is in the hallway on the right hand side, code is 1 2 3 4. Right, so make sure that you're putting very clear showing instructions and showing time, and make sure that you talk to your sellers about how they want to receive those notifications. Some sellers are going to want to receive every single notification that something's happening. Some that may be out of town may say, you know, they can just confirm it with you. If it's completely vacant, they may be good with go and show status in showing time. So make sure that you clarify all of that with your sellers, right? Any questions on that? That's a pretty important step to take. Okay. So get your first open house scheduled. Even if you think this house is going to go under contract very quickly, schedule an open house. You're doing yourself a favor. You're doing your sellers a favor, right? So one of the best parts about listings is that for every listing you take, more than likely you can pick up 2 buyers if you play your cards right. And one of the best ways to do that is to have an open house so that you're drawing people into the house. The other good piece of that is that it's going to get as many eyes on the property as possible, possibly drawing multiple offer situations, right? And getting the top dollar for your seller. So don't skip on scheduling an open house. It is really, really a good benefit for you and your seller. So if you're going to do a fancy open house where you have food or coffee, or people have done ice cream trucks, or they've done wine and cheese, you know, whatever, don't spend your own money. Get a vendor to give you money. They will do it. They will hang out with you at the open house, so you don't have to be there by yourself. So if you want to do something like that, definitely contact a vendor. Insurance companies will do it. Loan officers will do it, definitely. Home inspectors will do it, right? They will come over there and they will bring some Panera or whatever and have your open house with you. But if you are going to have something, especially that draws a big crowd, like a food truck or an ice cream truck, make sure that you talk to the neighbors first, right? So that they're aware that you're going to have some traffic in there. Promote that listing on social media. You can do free social posts, or you could even do paid ads. Some of the biggest return on investment in the form of leads that you can get are advertising a single property on Facebook. So use this listing as your opportunity to market yourself and your business. Yes, you want to get it sold, and you want to get it sold for top dollar, so it needs to be shown to as many people as humanly possible. Social media is a great way to do that, right? Just listed postcards. Send 100 or 200 of those to the surrounding neighbors, right? Again, you can do this in command, and I won't speak to any other loan companies, but I do know 100% that Fairway Independent Mortgage will do these postcards for you. Not only do they do them for you, you don't have to do any of the work. They split the cost with you. So you can send out 200 postcards for the price of 100 postcards. So you can do it yourself, or you can partner with them or another loan officer that does that, right? But again, use that as an opportunity to market yourself. Just listed, under contract in 48 hours, 72 hours, whatever it is, and just sold. That's 3 chances that you get to touch a neighborhood, right? If that's a neighborhood you're going to intend to work in and that you really want to be a big presence in, it is imperative that you send those postcards out, at least those 3, right? And doing a 7th level open house, I did attach this PDF here for you guys. I'll open this up and let you take a look. Here we go. So this is originally sourced from Ron Wexler, right? So a sign in the yard, level 1, take you all the way to level 7. You have a sign in the yard, a sign in the yard with balloons and riders, directional signs at all key corners, flyers the week before, email out to your entire sphere of influence, and post this open house everywhere that you can think. Tweet it, Facebook it, Instagram it, put on TikTok, wherever you want to put it. Put it out there for as many people as you can see. Go invite 100 neighbors. Get on the phone that morning and remind everyone that you know. Try to partner with some other agents that have listings in the area and hold 4 other open houses in that area in various price ranges to drive up traffic. That was one of my favorite things to do, was say, okay, here's my listing. Where are the listings around me? I just went into the MLS and I looked for where the other listings were, and I called the agents from other companies. I don't care, right? Then you can do flyers together and all kinds of fun stuff like that. You could have food or prizes at each one. If you visit each open house, you know, you're entered for a chance to win X, right? So MOFR is something that we've been talking about a lot at KW recently. Like, we needed another acronym here. And I want to make sure that I tell it to you right. Hold on one sec. I'm going to get into this. It was under. Darn it. Where did I put it? Under MCT calls, maybe. Yes. Make offer for immediate response, MOFR. So try to think of as many ways that you can do that, right? To draw attention to yourself and your business. Open houses are definitely a way that you can do this. Have a drawing. It's easier to collect people's information at an open house than it is if you're giving them a prize than it is if you're just like, hey, will you fill this out for me, right? Have a sign made up that says, fill in this sign-in sheet and give 1 piece of feedback to my seller to be entered for a chance to win a $50 gift card to the Sherwood or some local restaurant or something that's coming up. The holidays are coming up. There's lots of things that we could do giveaways for, right? So think about stuff like that. Really choose to market yourself, and that way it's a lot easier for you to capture people's information, which is what we're trying to do, so that we can build relationships with them. So that 7th level open house is in there. Make sure you add your open house to the MLS, run a Facebook ad, or do multiple social posts for free, right? Email your sphere of influence. There are designs available for this in command. There are design templates, email templates that are for an open house specifically. So you can use those, send it out to everybody that you know. Canvas that neighborhood with flyers. There are designs available in Command, or you can make it wherever you want, right? And hand those flyers out. Wouldn't you like to pick your neighbor? That was always one of my favorite things to say. Who do you know that wants to live next to you? Can you invite them to come out on Sunday from 2 to 4, right? Again, tying in, if there's some kind of a giveaway, that will prompt more people to invite more people. So you need to be monitoring your listing, sending your client those marketing links. So one thing I always did, let me just pick a random house, Clemens, $56.99. One of the things I always did for my clients, $56.99 Looperville Drive, is I just went into Google $56.99 Looperville Drive, Clemens, to show them where stuff is listed, right? So I'd be like, here's your Zillow link, here's your Redfin link, here's your realtor.com link, here's your homes.com link, whichever ones that, you know, I would send them like 5, plus your property is syndicated to thousands of other websites, right? But that way it shows them something that you're doing for them, that their house is out there being marketed. Make sure you're updating your opportunity phase and stage along the way. It makes it a lot easier for you. Make sure that once your listing active file in Command is complete and you have everything uploaded there, go ahead and turn it in. I've told you guys about some of those nightmares of people that had done all of their paperwork on the old version and had to redo it all. There we go. Had to redo it all after it closed. That is not fun. That is not a fun conversation to have. Turn your paperwork in along the way, and that way you know if anything was wrong, you can go ahead and get it fixed ahead of time. So don't forget to do that, right? Does anybody have any questions so far? You guys are a super quiet group today. Nothing? Okay.
I got a couple.
Go ahead, Ed.
How about scheduling open house? Let's say house is ready to go. What duration after the listing? Is that like a week or 2 weeks after?
In this market, I would probably, I would try to be very strategic, Ed, and say we're going to activate your listing on Monday, and then we're going to have the first open house on Sunday, because that gives you ample time to market it, right? Or we're going to make it go active on Saturday, and then the following Sunday we're going to have the open house. So with the market moving the way it's moving now, I would try to be really intentional with that. It used to be that you could list it on a Wednesday and then hold the open house, you know, 2 Sundays from then or whatever, but I wouldn't wait that long now. I would just kind of be intentional on the day that you make it active, that you have a week at least to advertise it. Because like if you're going to do a paid Facebook ad, you have to have 24 hours turnaround time to get that ad approved anyway.
Right.
So keep that stuff in mind. That's a great question. What else? Do you have another one?
Could you scroll, maybe back up a little bit? Hold up right there. So the opportunity phases, maybe I just need to set up a time with you and talk to you about that.
No, we could absolutely
one-on-one.
We can do that, and we can take a look at them too. Just remember, you can add and take away from the stages, right? The phases are unchanging. Cultivate, active, or cultivate, appointment, active, under contract, closed. Those don't change, but the stages within each of those phases can be customized. So you'll see, I think normally under active, they had, hold on, I'm in my team instead of my individual pipeline. They had the initial ones, which were, I think, staging, showing, and negotiating. I added an open house one because I have a checklist for my open house, right? So I added that stage under my active listing phase.
Okay, Got you.
right? But
All
yes,
right. The
100.
last one I had was the checklist is in the opportunities.
Yeah. So, I've shared checklists with you guys before. Let me get,
Yeah.
and it was George Kelly's checklist that I just tried to kind of modify for our area. I don't know why the internet is really painful this week. Come on.
It has been all week too, hasn't it?
Yes, it has been. And MLS has been having some issues and stuff has just been wonky. But that checklist I've shared with you guys, and I'm happy to share it with you again. I just took George Kelly's checklist and modified it to our market because like I think he's in Texas, so he doesn't have like due diligence there and stuff like that. So I tried to add a lot of that stuff in. And so all he did was kind of lay it out on a Google sheet. And then you just copy it over into command. So you can see like my active open house schedule, do this, matches with this, because I just took that spreadsheet and copied and pasted everything into my checklist within command. So now any opportunity that I drop into open house, so you can see under staging, I've got a 15 checklist items, right? But if I take it and drop it in here, now I go to 5 because it's an open house. And then I can even say I need to do this by, the 15th at 2 is when I'm going to call and do that. I'm going to make it go live on Sunday at 5 or whatever, whatever you're doing. And that way you're going to actually get the task showing up with a date and time for yourself.
Gotcha.
Good deal. Great questions. Anybody else? Questions? Good. Cool. Okay. So we're updating our opportunity phase and stage. We've turned in our listing active file for compliance check, fixing anything that comes back, right? And then we receive an offer. Great. Receive any offers and present them to your seller. Think about your North Carolina real estate education. When are we supposed to present offers to our sellers? Anybody?
I think it was as soon as possible or within
Right.
24 hours or something like that.
Correct. And we're having a conversation with the seller about that too. Mr. and Mrs. Seller, I think your house is going to go into multiple offers. Do you want to sit down and review all of the offers on Monday evening? How about we schedule our open house? We allow offers until 5 o'clock Monday afternoon, and then I will be at your house at 6 o'clock to review those offers with you, right? So whatever you'd establish with the seller, but never don't give them an offer. Never be like, oh, that's a lowball offer, so I'm just not going to give it to them. That is not your decision to make, right? Not our decision to make. So you need to receive any offers that you receive, review them with the seller.
I thought I heard Stephen say, as soon as you get them, you have to submit them.
Well, you have to tell them that you have it, but if they want to review them at one sitting, that's up to the seller, right? But you have to disclose to them that you got the offer.
Do you have to tell them the details?
If they ask for them, your fiduciary is to the seller, right? If you had that conversation ahead of time, I think this house might go into multiple offers. I would like to activate it on Monday, have an open house on Sunday, accept offers until 5 o'clock the following Monday, and then review the offers, and they agree to that, then it's okay, right? But you may receive offers before you have the open house, and you can just tell those buyers, we're accepting offers until this date, and then we're going to review all of them with the seller, right?
Okay.
So driving multiple offers is a good thing to do for you and the seller, right? Highest possible price, most possible options. Maybe price isn't the only deciding factor for them. Maybe they have to hurry and get it sold because they've fallen in love with another house and they need the equity from the house that they're in to buy the house that they want. So maybe speed of close is better for them. Maybe it's a cash offer for 10,000 less than asking, but they can close in 2 weeks, right? That might make that a better offer for them, even against a full price offer that requires appraisals and all the stuff, right? So definitely, you know, try to give yourself that option. It's a great question though. Does anybody have any other questions? Feeling good? If you ordered a warranty, or if a warranty was asked for as part of the offer, make sure that you get it ordered, right? Once the offer is accepted, make sure that you get copies of all of the fully executed paperwork, disclosures, addenda, any of that stuff, and get it put into your command listing under contract checklist. Get that due diligence fee, sign the receipts, deliver that receipt to the seller for them to sign the receipt, page 16 now. I think this still says 15, but I think it's 16 now with the updated form. Make sure to get from the buyer's agent the copy of page 15 that shows that the closing attorney signed for the earnest money. Need that for your records, right? Add the offer details to your opportunity in command. Add and accept the offer in command. We have to take those steps before we can finish our commissions tab, right? So no matter if it's our buyer or our seller, we're always going to be adding those offer details into the opportunity, right? So then we'll add and accept the offer. And then when all of the needed forms have been uploaded to your under contract folder, submit it to the market center, right? Some market centers prefer for you to, like, if you got the offer and the disclosure signed today, but you didn't get one extra form signed, they might want you to go ahead and turn it in and just leave a note that says, I have this other form forthcoming or something to that effect. Confirm that with your broker in charge. I do not like to speak for the broker in charges and the compliance officers for exactly what they want, but make sure that you don't forget to submit those forms to your compliance. Questions? Comments? Good. Okay. Due diligence period. Make sure that you change your status in the MLS and download that MLS sheet, right? Add the due diligence date to your calendar. It is the buyer agent responsibility to adhere to that deadline. It is not your responsibility, but that does not mean that you don't need to be aware of it. If you have not heard from them the day of due diligence expiration on if they want something fixed or whatever, I'll leave that up to you guys as to whether you want to contact them or not, but you should definitely be aware and keep yourself apprised of the date that's coming up. Let your sellers know these inspections can be scheduled and they can include all of these, right? That they may receive a due diligence repair request, or they may receive a request to take $2,000 off the offer price in lieu of repairs, right? Make sure that you're having those discussions with your sellers to prepare them for those things. That doesn't mean the seller has to accept any of them or do anything, right? This is a buy as is, where is state. But if the seller decides to make any of the repairs, make sure that you negotiate that due diligence repair request, get it signed, and return it to the buyer's agent. If that list price gets negotiated down in lieu of repairs, make sure that you additionally add the 4T agreement to amend contract. The buyer's agent would do that, but make sure that it gets done, right? Absolutely. If no repairs are going to be made, make sure you communicate that to the buyer's agent. You know, we appreciate that you asked us to make these repairs and my seller has declined to do so. Stay informed about the status of the loan. They don't have to give you the particulars, but, you know, set yourself a few reminders that says, hey, we good? Appraisal done? We moving forward? That kind of stuff, right? Make sure that you see the appraisal get scheduled. It will get scheduled through showing time, just like any showings do. So make sure that you're on the lookout for it. After due diligence ends, you're going to move into pending status. Make sure that that change happens in the MLS. It should happen automatically after the due diligence date hits and it's 5 p.m. It should flip over to pending. Schedule the closing attorney to complete your seller documents. If you're using the buyer's attorney, great. You call them and make sure that they get your seller documents done. That was the thing I was notorious for forgetting to do, was getting my seller's documents done. So make sure that you set a reminder for yourself to do that so that you don't have to be like me and beg and grovel with the paralegal to get your stuff done in a timely fashion, because I always forgot. Order that home warranty if you needed to. Again, confirm cancellation and transfer of utilities. Did the buyer schedule that final walkthrough? Make sure that the seller has the property clear of their belongings and broom swept for that final walkthrough. Make sure that you're clear to close. Go remove that sign and lockbox, change the seller's address in command, update their monthly neighborhood nurture, secure a closing gift if you're getting them one. And then once closing day comes, once it's closed with the attorney, you want to change that MLS status to closed, download the agent full version and add it to command. Get that signed copy of the closing disclosure because you'll have to turn it in. Did you sign for the seller? Sometimes you can go and sign for your sellers at the attorney's office. If you did in fact do that, you have to have the power of attorney to do so. And you need to have a copy of that power of attorney because you will be required to upload that into command if you sign for the sellers. If it was a referral, make sure to add the referral agreement and the other agent's W-9 tax form into command so that they can be paid properly. If there was an existing warranty, did it get transferred? Did a closing gift get sent? Follow up with your seller to ask them for a testimonial. Send the buyer's agent a thank you note. That is an opportunity to build your downline, right? If that was a great agent, or even if it's an agent that you're like, love this agent, they're a little bit of a mess, they might benefit from systems of models of KW. Make sure that you're building those relationships with agents too. That is super important. If it was a referral, send the referral a thank you note. Request that testimonial, post it just closed to all your social media accounts, send out that postcard to that surrounding area of that neighborhood, and add your seller to any post-close smart plans. Stay in touch. I put it in all capitals for a reason. Don't stop talking to your people just because your transaction closed, right? We finished early this time. Tuesday we went over. Questions, comments, concerns. You guys have 6 minutes. And let me go ahead and share this into the chat. All I ask is when I do share this with you, it's editing's not turned on anyway, but once you get it for yourself, drop this in the chat right there. You'll just want to click the file button in the upper right left corner and make a copy so that you can edit it and add anything in, because not everybody does their business the same. This was all just stuff coming out of me that I used to do. So feel free to make yourself a copy and then you can edit it and add any of your stuff to it that you want. My original version will always stay live. Any additions that I make will show up in the version that is on my website.
Monica, I have a question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Actually two, but the first one, when you mentioned the home warranty and that in today's world, everything's selling so quickly that most people don't have it. I always saw the home warranty as a protection, that if something went wacky later, that if they had a home warranty, they would be less likely to come back and sue the seller because they could get things sort of fixed. Am I kind of off base there, or?
I mean, it's definitely an added benefit, you know, in the eyes of many. I used to use it as a marketing ploy a lot. List with me and I'll provide a home warranty. It'll cover you during the listing period. And it'll cover your buyer, you know, the buyer of your property for a year. Vice versa, buy a home with me and I'll provide you with a home warranty. So, I mean, you know, it's definitely a marketing pitch that you can use, and you definitely should always recommend it to your buyer for your own protection. But do they have to use it? No.
Well, I was thinking about the seller, if,
I mean,
if
it
you-
can protect them, right? And that's definitely a conversation that you should have with both sides of the trade, with your buyer or with your seller.
and then, okay, the download for your spreadsheet, is that on is that on?
It's in the chat, Sally. So if you're looking
Oh,
at,
okay, thank you. I'm sorry. I was kind of thinking it was going to be somewhere else. That's good. I got it.
click
Thank
on
you.
it, I'll take you right there. You're welcome, honey. Great questions. What else, guys? Was this helpful to you guys? I know we kind of had to go through it quickly, but it's a lot, and surprisingly enough, like I know you guys are probably like, Monica, quit saying that to us. This stuff just will become natural for you to do. I know it seems like a lot typed out on this piece of paper, but as you keep having transactions, this will become a natural flow for you to do. And adding these this is essentially the checklisting command, just expanded a little bit. If you don't like command checklist, that's okay. Use a paper checklist, right? Print this thing out and stick it in the folder. Did I do all these things? Check, 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 check. I just want to make sure you guys have every opportunity to learn from my failures, like my failure to order my seller documents. Pat Kirkman at Kangaroo and Porter can tell you how many times I was like, Pat, I'm sorry.
When you put this in, the checklist in, and I just don't know what the answer to this is. When you put the checklist in, can you check off out of order?
Yeah, absolutely. So I can be here and I can just go, did this, right? And I can come back later and be like, okay, now I did this. And then I could like log out, come back later and just check them off as I need to until I have them all done. Now I've done 5 out of 5 for that one and 0 out of 5 for this one. And then if anything was a client update, I have client updates turned on this one. You can see it right here. It would actually send the client that email at the end of the day that said, these are the things that were done for your property today.
That's nice.
Yeah, super nice.
That's a great communication tool.
It is. It really.
Wow. Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. Anything else, guys? If not, I'll give you back 2 minutes.
Oh, I thought of something.
What's that?
You're doing your car analogy. You could also mention, wouldn't you want to empty out all your kids' toys and your dog toys before you took it down to sell your car?
Yep, 100%. You're 100% correct. People just, I don't know, that just don't think about it from that way. And I always enjoy not just having the listing photos, but I like asking my seller for like live snapshot pictures of their house. Like I'm super proud of what my house looks like at Christmas because I'm ridiculous with Christmas decorations. So that would be a picture that I would want to show people that were interested in my house, right? So that's something to consider as well.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yep, you're absolutely welcome. Thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you, Monica.
Thanks, guys. See ya.
Thanks.
Bye.